Are you guys there? Can you hear me? It's Mitch.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to keep myself on mute as much as I can.
It's Wednesday, April 17th at 5 o'clock, and I officially call this meeting to order of the Boca Raton Airport Authority. Ms. Landers, please take the roll. Here.
No.
Here.
Here. Here. Here. And a quorum is present. Approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the March 20th? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Number 3, agenda changes. Ms. Bennett, any agenda changes? Public requests. If any member of the public wishes to provide a comment on any item, the time to do so is now. Please complete a public comment card identifying the item upon which you wish to be heard and provide it to Ms. Landers. Public comment cards are located in the back of the room. Each member of the public wishing to comment will be provided with 5 minutes to do so. The chair reserves the right to move the public comment opportunity on a specific item to the point in the agenda when that item is to be considered and/or to extend the allotted time per speaker. Ms. Landers, any public requests? Consent agenda. I see there are no items on the consent agenda. Item 5, federal, state, and municipal input. Ms. Bennett. Number 7, financial reports. Mr. Vogel.
Hey, guys. Can you all hear me?
We can. Loud and clear.
Oh, great. Yeah, loud and clear. Sorry for not being there in person. However, under the circumstances, I think you'll all be glad I'm not there right now. So let me jump right into the financial report. All right. So good afternoon, everybody. Robert Abbott will be presenting the finance report ending March 31st, 2024. The end of March officially marks the halfway point of our fiscal year, and the audit is currently in its final stages. It will be presented at the May meeting. I also wanted to bring to your attention that there are a few new additions to our balance sheet for subscription assets and liabilities. These are for our noise monitoring and our SMS software. These have been added to comply with new pronouncements which recently went into effect from the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, GASB. GASB is the source of generally accepted accounting principles that are used by state and local governments, including the Boca Raton Airport Authority. Mr. Abbott, you have the mic. Thank you.
As you can see, total operating revenues year to date are approximately $2.5 billion. That's down approximately, so it's up approximately 10.1% of our budget to date. That's 3.6 million side on there. Total operating expenses are down 2.5 million, and that's approximately 19.5% budget to date. Net income before depreciation is approximately 1.2 million. And so on behalf of Airport Management and Secretary Treasurer, I will respectfully present the financial report.
Is there a motion to approve the March 2024 financial report? So moved. Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Tenant reports and requests. The sublease amendment that was reviewed at last month's meeting. However, thanks to Mr. Folden's sharp eye, it was noted that there was an issue with the entity name that holds the lease. Airport staff and legal counsel have corrected the issue, and the item is now back before us for ratification. Thank you, Gene, for your keen observation and keeping us on track. Appreciate it. Now I'd like to ask Ms. Bennett to present this item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, as you very succinctly summarized, we have this item before you to ratify the correct name of the entity that holds our lease. You may recall that in 2022, the entity changed its name to CNLI eMark LLC. But through a Scrivener's error, we presented a sublease between CNLI eMark Elite LLC and Cinemark. So the correct entity name is what is before you in the re-executed, corrected sublease amendment, first amendment to sublease, in the consent to sublease, as well as in the resolution. So therefore, Airport Management recommends approval of resolution 041324, consenting to the first amendment to lease agreement between CNLI eMark LLC and Cinemark USA Inc.
Looking for a motion? Second? Any second?
I'll second that.
Good question.
Yes, ma'am.
Just out of curiosity, had we not noticed this change, what would have been the impact of the sublease and the amendment?
So, in my opinion, it would not have made a difference to the consent. The problem that you would have is that the subtenant and the tenant would have been incorrectly named within the sublease. Now, if there had been an enforcement issue with respect to that sublease, could the parties have resolved that through recognizing it as a Scrivener's error? Potentially, but it wasn't a mistake with respect to our approval. It was a mistake with respect to the underlying relationships and how those were articulated.
So in other words, it would have remained in force, most likely.
I suspect.
Sure.
Yeah, because of the name change, REIT became
I understand.
eMark. So based on that history,
Just a point of law question.
yeah, based on that history, I don't anticipate that it would have invalidated the underlying sublease.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, Executive Director and Staff Reports, Noise Abatement Operations Summary for March 2024. Florence?
Yeah. Had 34 operations, which is a 1% increase from last year. March. For the fuel, we had an increase 3%. Jet fuel from March 2024 previous year. Avgas 75% increase. The noise concerns, we had 389 noise reports from 7 different households, and it's represented, households are represented in geographic quadrants around the airport. Our customs, we had 266 aircraft that were cleared in March 2024. This is the second highest number of aircraft cleared in 1 month since May 8th. March has typically been the busiest month of the year.
We're coming up on, let's see, is it 5 years or 6
Six.
years? 6 years. 6 years next month, right? Great.
We're doing it.
Yeah, that's great.
And there 25 cleared it. I was clearing, we had 80, 33 of those cleared during Tuesday. That's just reason. And that concludes the operation noise abatement report from March 2024. Any question?
Thank you, Florence. Item B, Quarterly Safety Management System Program Update, Mr. Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Robert Brand, Operations Coordinator. Happy to present the Q1 2024 estimate program update for the board. During the quarter, we completed 137 facility inspections as well as 178 airfield inspections. We also completed 60 mass inspections and inspections on the PAPI lights, which is one for each end of the runway, so 6 in total. During the quarter, operations staff completed 10 work orders for repairs that required out in the airfield. We had 3 alert 2s during the quarter, as well as 2 disabled aircraft, 3 bird strikes, and 2 general incidents on property.
Quick question, are the bird strikes, is that mostly seasonal? Do we get more in the winter months, for instance, versus?
I would say that it's really seasonal. We do what we can to try and prevent wildlife from in and around the safety areas, but throughout the year, various times there are different types of wildlife, different types of bird activity. So we see it pretty commonly throughout the year. It varies on how much is present, every now and then, but I wouldn't say necessarily seasonal. Sir.
So just like the snowbirds who are here now and going back north.
So already going back.
Yeah.
Just be the car carriers.
This bird, but this bud.
Included there. And just
Yeah.
tell us the-
So the first alert 2 was a Piaggio, which is a turboprop aircraft that had a landing gear indicator light came on once they had departed, which could signify an issue with the landing gear. So they declared an alert 2. Operations staff headed out, and fire responded to the airport, but the aircraft landed safely without issue. So it was an alert 2 that was a non-event. The second one was a twin-engine Cessna that departed the airport and lost one of their engines, and made the call that they had lost an engine, returned to the airport. So there was an alert call there as well. They also landed safely without issue. And the third one, the horizontal stabilizer on a Citation jet had a trim issue, and so the pilot declared an alert 2. Same thing. Fire rescue rolled out. We rolled out, and they landed safely without event.
So on your third example, were they taking off from here and then turn around, or were they landing and declaring?
They were coming into the airport.
When you say they declared an alert, is that new terminology?
No, it's not new terminology. It's pretty standard throughout the FAA. There's 3 different categories when responding to an emergency, and it's not necessarily that the pilot's going to declare an alert 1, 2, or 3. It's usually classified by the tower. An alert 1 is something extremely minor that's not expected to develop any further. An alert 2 is something that could potentially lead to an alert 3 in unfortunate circumstances, and an alert 3 is an actual accident.
So this terminology comes from air traffic.
Correct, yeah, the pilot will usually declare emergency,
Emergency.
the air traffic controller will get the information regarding the aircraft and the type of. Yep, and then once they understand what's going on, they'll usually, in our cases, we almost only declare alert 2s. Because an alert 1 is really for if you have ARP on the field and it's just, okay, I'll go lean on the truck. Whereas an alert 2 is, okay, I'm getting in the truck and I'm going out to the runway because there's a potential for bad things to happen.
For the first 2 then.
Yeah, and it's standard throughout the airport industry, especially stateside.
Well, that was new terminology to me.
And our letter of agreement with the tower dictates what happens during a different alert, as well as our agreement with the city of Boca Raton for emergency.
No, well, I don't know, I'm just curious.
Mr. Nell?
And I'm also curious, I'm assuming we had these over the years, but we didn't hear about them here at the board. Now that we have SMS, we hear about them, but did we always keep track of these? I guess you always had to, I assume, but now it's more public and we're tracking these more carefully. Would you say that, or?
Paper record.
Yeah.
We went to an electronic system that we developed. And then this is the kind of the evolution.
Show value of SMS, I think.
It's information, and to your point regarding trends, are there more bird strikes during different times of year? The software, all of these activities will allow us to track and identify trends.
No, another
And be more
advantage.
responsive. And there's also different, again, matrices that identify risk and hot spots and things like that. So it'll just be a more centralized, location.
Yeah.
For data that we kept in either paper or electronic or in different forms.
Great improvement. That's good. Thank you. Thanks, Roger.
And then for safety promotion for the quarter, this past quarter really focused on getting our second SMS newsletter. So our second semi-annual SMS newsletter was sent out. I hope you all received a copy of that digital flip book, which highlighted one of the safety programs going on here, such as our safety awards program. Spoke about the SMS video that we had our for SMS and for our badging. Also highlighted the new badge templates that we've officially rolled out in the field. And yeah, we had a good response from people, and we had a lot of opens and clicks that we had to track through that flip book. So yeah, I was happy to get that out. That was
What's the distribution, Robert, on that? What's the?
tens.
So is it in the hundreds or 1,000 or so, or? Okay, great. Any questions for Robert? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Item C, Airport Service Road Rehab and Stormwater Improvements Contract Award. Scott, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Airport Management released an invitation to bid for the project that's listed, which involves widening the air traffic control tower service road for ease of access for emergency vehicles and circulation of the maintenance vehicles around the airport. And also some grading and raising of the bottom of the ponds along the runway here on the air side in order to reduce standing water throughout the year, which can be a wildlife attractant. And it also includes a smart weir system, which will help in dealing with water during high rain events. And it also included 2 alternates for the undergrounding of the stormwater ponds along Airport Road, which were included in our appropriations request that unfortunately did not make it across the finish line. We were intending to have Chris Lyons here today to kind of give us an after action on that, but unfortunately it was chosen for jury duty, thankfully in Tallahassee and not New York. So he'll be hopefully attending next month in order to explain to the board and answer any questions. However, the base bid, good news, came in more or less in line with engineer's estimate, which is sort of an oddity in the last couple of years with the inflationary environment. The engineer's estimate was approximately $3.34 million, and the base bid came in at $3,693,445. And that was submitted by Ranger Construction Industries. They were the only responsive bid that we received. We received a second bid after the bid opening deadline, which was obviously deemed no good and non-responsive. They were given the opportunity to protest. They declined, so I'm guessing that they were probably a higher price. Ranger has done work on the airfield in the past, so they're a pretty known quantity. They're familiar with airfield work. Also good news on the 2 alternates, although we don't have the funding from the state. The bid pricing came in actually lower than the engineer's estimates quite significantly. The engineer estimate for the first pond was 2.1 million. It came in just over $1 million. And for the second pond, it was 1.53 million, and they came in at about $750,000 millions. So that's good news. We've got a pretty solid idea of what they'll cost in the future, and we've already reached out to the state of Florida to request grant dollars and get on their list for any fallout money. We're number 1 on that list, so hopefully we can work with the district and get some additional funding. And we've also added it into our 5-year JSIP plan for the first available year for funding, which will be 3 years out. So at this time, we're not recommending the award of the alternates, only the base bids. So the engineering team has reviewed the bids and recommends award to the lowest responsible bidder. Airport Management recommends approval of resolution 041424, conditionally awarding contract to Ranger Construction Industries in the amount of $3,693,445. And we also are requesting a motion. The way it works with the FAA grants is you need to bid in hand, and then you need express authority to accept the grant, and they'll tell you when they want the grant, and it's usually a day or 2 turnaround when they offer it to you. So we'd also like a motion on top of the approval of the resolution to authorize Ms. Bennett and legal counsel to do all things prudent and necessary to execute the FAA grant when offered. And the award is going to be contingent upon receipt of those FAA funds. The applications are due in May, and they usually make the announcement sometime in July or August. So once we know we're getting the funds, then we can execute the contract and get the contractor started on the administrative period. But if for some reason we're in a shutdown period and they don't issue the grant, then obviously the contract wouldn't be valid at that point.
Okay, so we're looking for two motions here. The first on the contract award, and then we'll have discussion on that one. Motion on the contract award. And second,
Second.
and any discussion? Jim, did you have a question?
I just had a question. I think it's related to this contract, but it's about the two ponds. So when you say we are looking for a grant at the FAA, or maybe it's yeah, Florida Department of Transportation. Does that mean we won't need the appropriations if you say we're number one on their list? Because isn't that the area we were talking about for our appropriations bill?
Correct. And we're number one on their list for what they call recon money. If for some reason there's bids that came in, since they award the estimates, a lot of times projects come in below what they allocated for those projects. That all goes back to the local district and then they can redistribute it.
Right.
And so we use that for, we try to have a project on hand at any given time to take advantage of those opportunities when they come along. Or the only reason to go back and do the appropriations would be if we wanted to accelerate it. If we don't get the recon money, it's going to be a minimum of 3 years before we get that. If we want to try to do it sooner, that would be the.
It's a timing like we had talked about last year before we tried for the appropriation.
Correct.
Okay, so I just want to get that clear. Yeah, right. Yeah. Understood. Okay, that might have been a little off track. I'm sorry, but
No, all good.
I think it's related.
Any other discussion on the first motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The second motion is we need a motion to authorize the executive director, Ms. Bennett, to accept the FAA grant when offered. Have a motion on that? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item D, FAU Sports Marketing Agreement, Ms. Landers.
Chair. As you know, last year, we had an agreement with Playfly Sports for the sponsorship. It was a little expanded than we've done in the past because we were celebrating the 75th anniversary. So we were their sponsor for the Hometown Heroes. We actually had staff attend every football game, along with having a tenant event and our own tailgate event, signage, and participation in other activities that they sponsor throughout the year. This year, we've opted to scale it a little back. I did send out the updated agreement, so everybody should have received that this afternoon. It's for 1 year. It's at a cost of $20,000 as opposed to last year's $34,000. This particular one would include some things that I think they took into account the airport and a little more thoughtful. We're going to do an Aviation Day takeover of their website. That would be in August. The tailgate will be sponsored by FAU Sports, and we will have we'll be able to invite 50 people to attend. So this will be staff, board members, tenants, community partners that we want. We're still going to be able to do the on-field engagement where we do the charity and present a check. We still get a visit from Owlsey to come out to the airport. Designation, and this year they've also included some basketball. So we're looking at doing participating in 3 different basketball games where we have students come and make paper airplanes, and then whoever the winner is will get an award or prize from the airport. So airport management recommends approval of the 2024 agreement with Playfly Sports Properties in the amount of $20,000. And Jamie Kendrick and RJ Martino are both here. And if you have any questions, they'd be happy to speak to you regarding the agreement.
Great. Would you guys like to stand up and any questions? Take the podium, please. Any questions for RJ and Jamie? I particularly like the paper airplane idea. I think that's very creative. And sounds like a lot of fun. And of course, with the basketball team, expecting to do great things again next year. That should be terrific. But any questions for these folks? Play flight.
I just also had a comment that I think it's good to have exposure to the basketball games,
Yeah.
not just football. Some people go to everything, but I think they are two different crowds. I don't know, you would know better than I, but I think that was a good idea, whoever came up with that.
And even, you know, if it is the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the major components of the agreement?
Sure, so this year.
To us.
Yeah, absolutely. So this year we focused more on an education and awareness piece, specifically with aviation and what the airport is all about. So National Aviation Day is on August 19th. So the idea there was to give you guys a digital takeover of FAU's social media and website assets. So one component of that are the banner ads that live on FAUsports.com. So typically throughout the day and throughout the year, we'll have a rotation of ads from various sponsors that own some of that space. So what we'll do for the 18th and the 19th will be only the airport. So every time you go on FAUsports.com during those 2 days, you only see the Boca Raton Airport Authority. So we're going to work with you guys and with the marketing team to develop some creative ties in the partnership and gives a little bit into to what you guys are all about and why you guys choose to partner with us. So that's a big piece. And then, like Christine mentioned, doing the paper airplane competition, I think it's a fun way to engage students that we maybe didn't do as much last year, where we had the big broad community approach with Hometown Heroes. But I think specifically educating students on you guys, you're being next to us, you know, we're neighbors. So let's get students excited about your presence in a fun way. So the idea is we would do this paper airplane competition for 3 games, give them prizes there with the airport authority. So
Just following up on that, so you have groups come in, they put paper airplanes together and the one that goes the furthest wins, or is there another component to it?
that's essentially it. So we'll pick 2 students during a game, bring them onto the court where they'll get to build a paper airplane, and then they'll throw it on the court while teams are in a timeout or media breaks. So all eyes will be on these 2 students, and then we'll have a PA announcement right along with it where you guys can share some information about initiatives you all have going on, or if, you know, just a fun partner recognition.
So just out of curiosity, do the students are doing this?
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Do they know in advance? Are they engineering students? Are they coming well prepared to make not just, you know, second grade airplane? Hey,
Okay, so great question. I think that's definitely something that we'll figure out with Christine and Claire to make sure that we're picking the right students and it's aligning with the.
Just curious.
Absolutely. I think the goal is we would pick them throughout the game. So as they're standing in line, I don't know if you guys know this year, but we always have a line of students getting to the games, which is great. But finding 2 students that are, of course, capable of making a paper. But yeah, picking people that'll make it experience and will engage with you guys.
So Jamie, I see that we get sort of, I guess, our pick of when to do the tailgate experience, which home game. So I noticed that on September 7th, FAU is playing Army, which, knowing our great allegiance with veterans, would be, so do we get to pick, or how does that work?
So we are still in the planning process.
Okay.
In order to be, we hosted a few last year, just and then the alumni also host some, so we're
Right.
working internally on figuring out ways to collaborate and we're creating a good experience. So definitely we'll keep in mind that the Army is a game that you guys would like to choose, and I'll see what we can do.
And then I think the USF would be a good choice as well, because there's a lot of alums in the area as well, so it should be heavily attended.
Great.
Very good. Anything else for Jamie? Yes, Ms. Bud?
Has anybody ever seen on TV this Battle of the Bots? Am I saying that right? It's addicted. Engineering students as well as established engineers, they put makeshift things together. It would be fun and an ongoing thing if we were to be able to create something like that. A real competition. Sure.
It'd be fun. I think it's a great idea, definitely something.
Very good. Well, thank you for bringing this forward. We look forward to another great relationship with FAU, our neighbors, and go Owls. Okay, pardon me? Yeah, all those in favor? We need a motion first. I'm sorry. All out of order.
Hey, this is
Second,
Robert's rules
please.
of order.
All those in favor? Motion carries. Got so excited about the owl there. All right, item E, administration building improvements contract award, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item looks familiar. It's because it's a rebid of a project that we put out to bid early last year in 2023. Fortunately, the sole bid came back nearly 3 times the engineer's estimate. The engineer's estimate was $220,000. The bid came back around $675,000. So we tried working with the contractor to kind of bring that more into a reasonable range. We were unable to come to any agreement, so we canceled that bid and repackaged it and bid it out early this year. Good news is we did receive a bid, and it is more reasonable. It's only closer to double the engineer's estimate, but given the time that's elapsed, is probably still pretty accurate. So the bidder was Ship Construction. They're out of Pompano Beach. We have one of their representatives here in case you'd like to ask them any questions. But the project involves reconfiguring this room to make it a little more better for authority board meetings and reconfiguring some of the offices since we've added some bodies and have kind of rotated our staffing methods. So airport management recommends approval of resolution 041524 awarding a contract to Ship Construction and Development, Inc. in the amount of $427,502.14.
Would the representative of Ship like to take the podium and see if there's any questions from the group? And if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, sir.
Good afternoon, Kurt Bennett.
No relation.
Good to get that on the record. Thank you, Ms. Bennett. Yeah. Any questions? Yes.
What was the differential between the first bid and the second bid that went out? The one that was responded to initially and came in about 3 times the engineer's estimate versus the one that we are currently discussing now, approximately 2 times. Did you change the scope? Was it a supply chain issue at the time of the first issuing? What's the?
I think it may have been a combination of things. It was the exact same scope. I think there were supply chain issues at the time that were probably driving a slightly higher price. I also think that contractor kind of had a good feeling that they'd be the sole bid submitted and kind of use that to, pad the numbers a little bit. But if you recall back in 2023, it was a high inflationary environment. We're still dealing with pandemic fallout in the supply chain. So I think it's calmed down a little bit and it's getting easier to both estimate and, get a hold of a lot of materials needed for the project.
And
Yes.
what
Oh, go ahead, Ms. Bennett.
diligence, generally speaking, do we do on average? So you get a second bid or even the first bid to make a determination, particularly if you're only receiving a bid. How do you do that?
In this case, our general consultant of record, Conway and Associates, has had an experience with the Ship in the past and, said they'd be perfectly capable of doing the work. Other than that,
They review the response to our technical specifications, our invitation to bid, how the.
Recondo takes their broader experience and say, for instance, this is very much in line with a similar project in another location. And you can
Correct.
adjust.
correct.
They-
Condo in this project, since they were the consultant, then, it'll be Garver or Kimley Horn on some of the other projects. In the case of the stormwater project, it was Garver that formed that due diligence. and-
Okay, so they conduct an analysis to ensure that the response to the bid that's put together by the contractor is responsive to our technical specifications. And they review that the company can also conduct the work so that they have the capabilities.
So they do the technical due diligence.
Correct, and they give us as the management team a letter summarizing their review and their findings and recommending approval of all of the, and their responsiveness to all the requirements. In our case, our procurement code allows to answer your question with regard to when there's only one bid, does allow us to negotiate for best value
Right.
to the authority, which is what we attempted to do with the previous contractor. But as Scott mentioned, as a result of this, the bidding environment in early 2023 and long lead times, et cetera, I think that that's one of the reasons that led to that much higher pricing. Things have settled. We're certainly seeing that in some of our other procurements, that we're getting better responsive bids. So based on that, we also have legal counsel to review again for responsiveness and responsible capabilities of the firm. So both the engineers and the attorneys review, we conduct our review, we look at their recommendation to award.
What's the timeline and contract period?
There's a 60-day administrative period and then a 90-day construction period to reach final completion or substantial completion, and then a 60-day closeout period to reach final completion. Punch list, correct.
90 days, that's pretty good.
Yep. Mr. Now?
And I would just like to hear, I know you met all the technical requirements of the bid, but since I haven't heard of Shift Construction, could you tell us, Mr. Ben, a little bit about the company? Did I hear you're from Pompano Beach? You're so local company, but your history and.
So I have been with Shift Construction essentially from inception. Years. So I've worked just in shipping. Fortunately, today worked with them about 12 years. Worked with his dad as an architect for 2 years prior to them just in our homes company. We do a lot of work in the Tri-County area. Most municipalities in here will work in Pompano Beach, as far as Miami-Dade County. We also do a lot of work with the city of Fort Worth. Currently, we have about probably 3 or 4 projects with the city. And that explained to Brian earlier that done work at the airport, the administration building in Pompano Beach. We fully renovated their administration building, keeping the tower intact during construction.
And was that sort of a comparable size job to what you'll be doing
I
here?
would say yes.
Okay. Ms. Butts?
This administration building is a little bit bigger than City Hall.
Right.
It's a very
The
nice
scope of
administration
it is-
building they have there, though.
And these staff, that's a combination of the staff, superintendents, the field.
You have to subcontract any of the work that,
Yes, there's a requirement, the DB requirement, that's the requirements. We were shy on the percentage, but we're figuring out ways that we can increase that percentage.
does the city have an approved vendor program?
City of Boca Raton, I don't know.
Just curious, it might be.
Our procurement code does allow us to piggyback.
Probably.
Yeah, our procurement code does allow us to piggyback under certain circumstances, as long as the scope is identical. But given the grant funding, we want to go out as competitive.
Any other questions for Kurt? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Looking for a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Authority board member requests and reports. Anything to offer here, Jim?
No, congratulations, great meeting and good seeing everyone.
Mel?
Same.
Gene?
Nothing?
We are looking forward to having a photo op inside your car. It's got very, very cool out there in the parking lot. A 1957 Beamer that, it's about
27 clown.
But that was quite something when you drove up. Ms. Bud? Public comment, Ms. Landers, any public comment? Any other business to come before the board? Seeing none, the next meeting is scheduled for May 15th, 2024, 5 p.m. here at the Boca Raton Airport Authority Administration Building. Meeting adjourned.
Thanks, everybody. Short and sweet.